Welcome to Legal and Wealthy, the podcast for lawyers who are ready to stop playing small and start building true wealth and a career and life of their dreams, powerfully and purposefully. Whether you're a law student, new associate, or seasoned attorney, this show is for those who are ready to take charge of their law career in a new way. I'm your host, Lauren Klein, attorney, law firm owner, professor, and founder of Legal and Wealthy. Here, we don't just practice law, we practice liberation and becoming wealthy attorneys. Because being a great lawyer shouldn't come at the cost of your time, your peace, or your financial freedom. Every week, you'll get the strategy, mindset, and wealth building guidance that law school never gave you. So you can go from just surviving your career to building a legacy through it. Let's get to work. Welcome back to Legal and Wealthy, the podcast for lawyers who are building wealth, protecting their health, and rising above the lie that success as a lawyer has to come at the cost of everything else. Today, I have a guest who is doing something that I truly think is genuinely important for our legal profession. She's creating a space for most of us who didn't have it when we were starting out. I certainly did not have access to podcasts like Ladies in Law when I was starting out in my law career. She is a personal injury attorney at the Simon Law Group in LA, a California native, a University of Kentucky law graduate. I'm just going to say it right now. We have AJ, our producer, who literally went to law school with Mikaela. We just realized that, that they knew each other. So crazy. And also the co-host of the Ladies in Law podcast, which I had the pleasure of being a guest on recently, a show built for female attorneys, navigating a field that really was never designed for us in mind. Mikaela Dixon, welcome to Legal and Wealthy.
Thank you so much for having me. I want you to do my intro like always. Thank you.
Well, now we're both just excited that you know AJ. This is so crazy.
What a small world. You're in Florida. I'm in California. And then someone I went to law school with in Kentucky is in Florida with you, right? Like, that's crazy.
That's so crazy. It's so crazy. Well, Mikaela, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to have you here. Before we really start to dive into all of the juicy questions, I want to know, who is Mikaela Dixon?
Ooh, complex. I think like many things come to mind. I am a work in progress.
Aren't we all?
Yes, yeah, I hope to always be. I was born and raised in California. Always knew from like the time I was little, I wanted to be an attorney. Not only because all my family members told me that I started arguing with them when I was like 3, but it was just, I wanted to advocate for people. I was like, I'm either going to be an attorney or I'm going to be a therapist. There was really like no in between. And I kind of have like married the two with the type of cases that I work on. But my driving force has always just been my why, as something that I always come back to. And my why has just been to give a voice to people that don't feel like they have one. And I think that can be true in so many areas of the law, but I love what I do in the population that I work with so very much. And so I get to actually like effectuate my why every day. And I'm so happy about it.
That's really cool. I really love that. And I love that you went into an area where you knew you would be helping people. And let's be real, there's a very fine line between lawyer and therapist. There really is.
There is.
So I know you've worked at the Simon Law Group since before law school. When you started, did you know you wanted to go to law school, or was it just a good job opportunity?
I definitely knew I wanted to go to law school, but I feel like I kind of did things a little differently. I knew I wanted to be an attorney, but my whole life growing up, I didn't really take like law focused classes. I didn't really do internships or things in law focused areas. I did a lot more just in like customer service and just service in general. Because I really wanted to just work on like my people skills and just connecting with human beings. And I knew that if I did go to law school and became an attorney, I would do that forever. So I kind of wanted to experience other things before diving into that. And so I graduated college and I had decided to do a gap year. And I wanted to finally like experience what law was like during that gap year because I don't have any lawyers in my family. I don't know any lawyers at that point. And so I was like, well, I kind of want to know if I actually like the law more than just the idea of being an attorney. And so I ended up getting a job at the Simon Law Group and I spent my gap year there as an administrative assistant. And I loved it. I fell in love with it. It was so much more than what I thought being an attorney was. And I do think a big part of that was just the people at the Simon Law Group. Personal injury was not where I thought I would end up at all. But I watched the way that lawyers advocated for people and heard people and just the way that they went about it, I really respected. And so I was like, yep, time to go to law school. So applied, went to University of Kentucky. All throughout law school, I continued working for the Simon Law Group remotely from Kentucky. So graduated from an administrative assistant to a law clerk, was a law clerk all through law school, but I also worked for the Kentucky Innocence Project and at the Public Defender's Office through law school. So I was working at the Simon Law Group and in the criminal sector in Kentucky. And then graduated, moved back to California with my boyfriend at the time, husband now. And we came to California. I passed the bar and they offered me a job as an attorney. And so now I've been there since 2017.
That's amazing. Do you think it's a good idea for most people to maybe do that gap year and actually work in the legal space before you invest, hundreds of thousands of dollars in your law career?
Yes. Yes. It's honestly like one of my biggest pieces of advice is I think that the people that are really successful in law school and beyond are the people that like can fall back on that why of why they want to be there and that they can like really have that conviction of like knowing that they want to be there. Because I think it's hard. Like law school is hard. Being an attorney is hard, especially if you don't have your why. And so for me, I literally was like, well, I want to know if I actually like this profession before I go in debt for it. It's a big commitment and I want to be intentional about the commitments I'm making. And I think doing externships, actually working in a law firm because even if I had worked in an area that I didn't really like, I think it's still exposure, which is good because then you can kind of already dwindle. That's the word. Dwindle down, like what you like and what you don't. It's just kind of like gathering information to make the best choice for you.
And how did you choose the Innocence Project when you were in law school?
Yeah, it was an externship that was offered, and it was something that I was like really passionate about just growing up in general, just like wrongly convicted individuals. I'm like a very big crime junkie. I listen to all true crime, literally everything. And so I kind of was already in that world and I already just like had this passion for wrongly convicted individuals. And I had already done my own research and things and seeing what I could do in my own communities. And so when I saw that I could actually extern there during law school, I was like, this is like my dream come true. What? And so I started doing that. And I honestly thought that there was a very big chance that I would stay in Kentucky and continue to work for the Innocence Project.
Wow.
Just because I was really passionate about it. And I loved the people who worked in that office so very much. And I didn't know if my then boyfriend would ever want to leave Kentucky because he's born and raised from Kentucky. And so I was like, I'm going to be in Kentucky forever. It's okay. and then he was like, hey, do you still have that job in California? Like, do you think they'd offer you like a full-time position? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can definitely like, let's see. And I was like, oh, okay, you'd move to California. He like sight unseen moved to California, which was awesome. Not a bad place to move sight unseen. But
no.
Yeah.
No. I mean, tell me where to be and I'll be there.
Truly.
How different like for him is California from Kentucky?
Very. It's funny because when we first moved out here, it would be like 60 degrees and, people would be in like big parkas and like beanies. And he's like, it's 60 degrees. And now when it's like 60 degrees after a couple of years living here, he like grabs his big sweater and I'm like, if little, 2020 Raleigh could have seen you now.
It's so true. The blood thins fast. It does.
True. It's all relative.
That's amazing. And so at what point did you say, okay, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I passed the bar. I'm a lawyer. When were you like, hey, I'm going to start a podcast? Like, how did that journey begin? This episode of Legal and Wealthy is brought to you by Law Firm Sites. Law Firm Sites has been building custom websites and providing online marketing for law firms for over 23 years. They are good at what they do because that's all that they do. If you are looking to expand the reach of your firm or just improve your online presence, Law Firm Sites has the team to do it. Go to lawfirmsites.com or call 1-800-932-8242 and mention Legal and Wealthy to receive 10% off any of their website or marketing packages.
Yeah. Really holistically, honestly, it was never anything that I kind of like sought out. But I'm surrounded by attorneys that just really elevate the voices around them. And it's like the biggest blessing. So my firm, the Simon Law Group, has its own podcast channel. It's called the Justice Team Network. And so Bob Simon, he was hosting this Justice Team podcast and invited me to be a guest, and I loved it. I mean, I could gab for hours. I just think it's so fun to just like meet people and talk about things you're passionate about and get other people to talk about what they're passionate about. And he was like, have you ever thought of doing your own podcast? I was like,
Wait, your
no.
boss made that suggestion? Okay, you must
Yes,
work at like the coolest, nicest law firm
I
ever.
really think I do. Like, it was just incredible. And he was like, I think that more like female voices need to be heard in this space. Yeah, I know. And I was like, I mean, yes, mine.
Oh,
I would
Bob.
love, yeah. So it
Bob.
was incredible. And at the time, my best friend, Allison Melendez, was working at the Simon Law Group too. And so we started Ladies in Law together. And neither of us had any experience, but it was so fun to get to show up with your best friend and just talk about the law and the intricacies of being female attorneys in a very heavily male dominated field. And so, talking about that, but also the intricacies of just litigation in general. And so it kind of just blossomed from there. But yeah, it was definitely my something that I had not thought about. But then once the seed was planted, I was like, oh yeah, no, I definitely want to do that.
That's really great. I just want to give a shout out to wonderful attorneys, especially male attorneys that are supportive because it makes all the difference. It really does.
It
That's
does.
super, super cool. I can't think of a single boss I've ever had. They would have been like, "When are you going to do that? You're going to do that at like, your weekends because you're going to be working all the time." So that's really and I mean, and from a business perspective, it's smart. It's smart. It gives visibility to the firm. But that's a very special type of boss. I really agree, and I like that he did that. That's amazing. And how did it start out? I know we had season 1 was really focused on the intricacies of being a female attorney and trying to make law an authentic space and build authentic networks. And then season 2 was really about not losing your softness in a male dominated field. I love that. How did you come up with these themes for the seasons?
A lot of experience of seeing the opposite or experiencing the opposite. So I think I don't think I've ever spoken to a female attorney that doesn't have some kind of story about a time that she did not feel respected, a time where she didn't feel like she had to, like prove that she deserved to be in the space that she was in. Or, I mean, even something as simple as like, I love to use exclamation like points. I will always, put them in my emails. And there were definitely times where I was told to tone that down or, like, don't say have a great weekend, say have a good one, things where it was just certain things where I was like, but I'm still me and I don't ever want to lose me. And then I kind of just started thinking of like, I don't think that this is my own experience, like isolated to just me. I think that this can be really applicable to other women or other marginalized communities. And so I wanted to kind of just create a space where others could feel validated in their experience and know that they weren't alone and just kind of show some visibility in that. And and it's not, I mean, definitely don't always have the answers and things definitely still get to me, but I think that it's important that we not shy away from, talking about it and trying to be better as a whole profession.
It's interesting. I've been told the same thing. with the exclamation points and the bubbly sign offs, and I'm like, but that's who I am, and it's done in a professional way, of
Yeah,
course, but now that I have my own firm, we use emojis with the right
I love
clients,
that.
and like, little unicorn emoji on a Friday. Who's not going to smile,
Right. Like we're human beings, and I think that
We're
that's
human
something that
beings.
we just need to keep at the core. And like, I mean, yeah, I will throw an emoji too when it's appropriate. Like I don't ever feel like I need to convince someone that they need to respect me.
Yeah.
I think that that is not my job. I will always respect, or like, I will always conduct myself in a respectful manner because that is like
Yeah.
who I always want to be in the world. But at the end of the day, like I am my longest commitment. I want to be proud of the person that is looking back at me in the mirror. And so that's me staying rooted in who I am. And I don't ever want to lose that or be surrounded by people that want me to limit that also.
And I would argue it makes you a better attorney and a better advocate. And I have found, I like emojis, but I don't do it because I like it. I have found that it helps the clients feel more at ease to see, so they can see us as human beings, not just their attorney. It makes them feel, I have felt it, I've seen it makes them feel more comfortable. It really
I
does.
agree. I totally agree. And I think that it's one of those things where it's like we are asking our clients to come to us and be vulnerable and open up. And I would always rather prioritize creating a conducive environment for that. Like that matters more to me is like I want them to trust me and I can be a better advocate for them when I have built that, when I have intentionally tried to curate an environment where they feel safe to do that.
Yeah, I agree. When you talk about softness, as that was really the theme for season 2, and showing up authentically and with our softness in a male dominated field, what does that look like to you? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think so often when we are trying to get the respect of others, it is easier to kind of tap into emulating more masculine tendencies. And I think that there's a lot of power in owning your softness. Like, I think it's okay to not be the loudest person in the room. I think it's okay to lean into just being yourself and not emulating other things that you see working for other people. And so a lot of that just means like, it's okay to feel. It's okay to have emotions. In fact, I think I'm a better advocate when I do feel strongly and passionately. And so it's not really listening to the voices that say, we need to just think this way, this is the way it's been done, this is how we need to continue doing it. It's leaning into like the things that make you powerful and make you you. And I think a lot of like the softer tendencies are things that aren't always like synonymous with a powerhouse attorney. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice if we don't lean into the things that feel authentic to us. And it kind of just goes into creating that environment and being you. And that's okay. And that's enough. And it's great, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. And, we all know that burnout is very prevalent in the legal industry. Do you think that by leaning into who you are and being authentic, do you think that that can help prevent burnout?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the times that, I mean, burnout can be so multifaceted and it can come in so many different ways and for so many different reasons. But I think when you are not being yourself, it's exhausting. It is truly mentally exhausting. And I think that if you are constantly in this state of exhaustion because you are not really being you, and there's almost this weird level of like guilt or disappointment in yourself when you're not being you. And so I think when you're always constantly doing these mental gymnastics of like, well, why am I showing up like this? Is this really how well, if I am doing, it's just these constant thoughts, like that's going to be exhausting and very hard to continue cyclically for the rest of your career.
Yeah. I agree, and I have lived it. I have lived it, and I feel the difference in an industry and a job that is already challenging and can take a toll. I have felt the difference. And so I love that you're talking about that on the podcast. And really what I think that's going to do is give people permission to be themselves and know that you can still be incredibly successful as yourself, if not, I would argue, more successful and happier.
Yeah. And I love that, like, that's something that you talk about so openly too, because I think that it is something that, like, is really validating to hear that people that you see and you want to emulate in terms of like this person is successful and they are able to juggle this and that. I think being able to talk about the times that were difficult also just puts in this perspective of like, no, where I'm at right now was very intentional and I worked hard to get here and I know to appreciate it because I've had this past where I didn't feel like this. And I think that that's amazing because it gives people this touchstone of just like, okay, it is possible. It's not just like, oh well, I'm sure that that person had this in their favor, and it's like, no, I worked to get here. And I love that. I think that that's something that is like amazing when you can show that it's attainable.
Yeah, I agree. So what's coming up next on the podcast? I know you're in the midst of season 3. What are the big conversations that you're having, or the ones you want to have?
Yeah. Oh my, this season has been so much fun. I feel like I have just had the most amazing, like badass women on the firm, on the podcast. Can you, sorry. Um, we basically, this season has been a lot of just like elevating really powerhouse women, like women who are holding titles that have been historically held by male colleagues. And so it's not even just isolated to just the law, it's just like women CEOs, like women law firm owners, like women who are VP of
Yes.
marketing, just like this incredible women who are just doing it and doing it so just wonderfully. And I get to pick their brain and talk to them about, you know, their journey and their struggles and their resilience. And I think this season is really just about visibility, you know, where you can do it. And it is hard and it's not always going to be what you see glamorized on social media and things like there's grit and a lot of things that go into it, but it's kind of just trying to give this space of being able to lean into what has been hard and also showing that there is another side too. And so that's what the season has really been about, and I'm really excited about it.
It's really, really cool. What would you say the topic that, or the topic of conversation you've had this season has really kind of stuck out with you the most?
Mm.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
No, that's so literally, it's like I want to do this compilation of like a bit of like every single person I've had. Like I have had a takeaway from every single episode in a way where I'm like, I really wish I took notes after and just like had this little bullet point of just like amazing things that my guests have been talking about. I don't know that I have like one isolated favorite moment. I think it's just been the season in and of itself. But really like the theme that I'm finding, because I like to ask the same question at the end of each of my episodes of just like, what would you give younger you as a piece of advice? And everyone's answer has been something that I've resonated so strongly with. And it's been really just like healing for me too, to hear that I wasn't alone in those thoughts as a young woman. And I think that's been my favorite part of the season is just like my guests' answers to those questions.
I love it. And I think we all can think back to our younger selves and just think, wow, if they only knew, all the good that was coming and all the wins and yes, some losses too. I mean, it's just really cool. It's really cool to see. And I can tell you, it just gets better and better as time goes on. I'm almost 15 years out and I look back, I'm like, number one, I don't know how that's 15 years ago. That's crazy. It goes way too fast. But it's so cool to think back to that, that version of ourselves and what they would think of everything, that we've done now. Like imagine telling, Mikaela of, however many you started in 2017, was it at the Simon Law Group?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
imagine 2017, Mikaela, you're like, you went to law school, you graduated, you're back in California, you started a podcast. Like,
She'd be
it's
like, "You're
really
kidding."
cool.
It really is, and I love doing that. Like sometimes I need to just like pause and do that reflection because it's so
Yeah.
hard. Like I think a lot of what we do as attorneys is you don't always see the proof of it right away. You know, like you're doing so much, but you don't always have something to like show for it, even though you're progressing and moving a case along. And I think that like when I just pause and I'm just like, look how far I've gotten, and like look how far like all the things I've done is just really incredible because I know that there's going to be a period 10 years from now where I'm going to do the same thing and not believe it. And I love being able to just pause and reflect and do that because I think we owe it to ourselves to really see how far we've come.
Yeah. I agree. And I think, we're typically all very A-type as attorneys and we're go, go, go. And usually what I've been trying to do every year, I create a vision board at the end of the year, but I also create like a accomplishments list because it's so easy to forget all of the things that we've done. It's sometimes our brains, they try to focus on the negative because our brain wants to keep us safe. So we almost have to force our brain to see, like, look at everything you have done, you know. Especially if
Yes.
you're, I know we talked about imposter syndrome on your show, especially if you're starting to feel that imposter syndrome, the best thing you can do is look at everything you've accomplished and remind yourself, who the hell you are.
Yes, yes. And I love that you have a physical like manifestation of that too. You literally get to grab it and be like, no, I did all these things. Okay. Like, it's just like you remind yourself who you are. I think that's so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. I agree. So I want to know, you're a few years, you're into your law practice. What are things that you are doing to take care of yourself and to design your life in a way that works for you? Hey, let's be honest. Are you a high functioning attorney or law student, but kind of low key exhausted, maybe successful on paper, but secretly wondering, is this it? That's exactly why I created the Wealthy Lawyer Reset. It is a 6-day reset for lawyers and law students who are done with burnout, chaos, money, energy, and just running on fumes. For 6 days, we reset your mindset, your money, and your nervous system because we cannot build true wealth and have great health if we are living in survival mode. It's just the fact of the matter. And because I am that kind of girl, we end with a virtual yoga session with the Aman Costigan. So you're not just wealthy on paper, you're regulated, grounded, and actually enjoying your life. This is not about hustling harder. It's about recalibrating everything so your wealth and your health can feel calm, aligned, and sustainable. If you're ready to enter your wealthy lawyer era without burnout, join me inside the Wealthy Lawyer Reset. 6 days, one reset, a completely different relationship with money, your health, and your success. Check out the show notes or go to my Instagram to learn more about the Wealthy Lawyer Reset.
A lot of intentionality. I think like I am always striving to have a better work-life balance. And I think that that can mean so many things to so many different people and can look like different things. But my husband's also an attorney. And so we strive to always create this like just a lot of boundaries, where it's like, okay, how much do we want to talk about work in a day? Like I want to be able to shut my brain off from that side. And so I think it's setting boundaries for yourself, constantly doing check-ins of like, okay, how am I feeling? Because I can only be my best self as an advocate when I'm also pouring into me. Like I need to also practice when I'm preaching to my clients about, making sure that we are also working on ourselves and our betterment throughout, a healing process. And I think for me, I find reading. I read a lot. I think because like as an attorney, you're just looking at a screen pretty much like all day, so I like to eliminate screens. I love to read. I love to go outside. I always joke that if I didn't have my dog, I don't know when I would go outside. But like I love to go for walks, like any kind of movement of my body, when I get to just kind of know that I'm working on myself in that moment and giving myself this just like space. So I love to just move. I love to be outside reading, making sure that I communicate my boundaries, trying to only work within certain hours, but also knowing that that can be flexible during like a heavy trial season and, things will pop up. But always making sure that I at least have a day over the weekend where I am not doing work. I'm not thinking about work as just like a natural reset. Just kind of, I think biggest for me is I love what I do. I love my profession, but I am so much more than my profession. And so it's always pouring into who Mikaela is as a person outside of being an attorney. So I think it's taking time to also pour into me as a human is how I kind of work on my balance between the two.
I think that is the key right there. I think that is the key to being a happy and successful lawyer. I really do. Because if you don't take the time to do that, we're only human, right? We can only push ourselves so far before it's not good. So I think that's really fantastic that you've incorporated that, into your day to day. What's a typical work day? Like, let's say it's not a heavy trial season. It's just like your normal, work day. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. Wake up at 6 a.m., make an espresso, go for a walk with my dog. We built a little gym in our garage. So then we work out in the gym, come back in, I journal, and then I look at my calendar for the day. I create my that day's to-do list. I'm like very list oriented. So
Same.
I like live,
Same.
eat, breathe by the to-do list. And
Yes.
so I kind of just look at my list, prioritize what needs to get done. Then I open my email because if I open my email first thing and I start to see the notifications, I will start just distracting myself by going through it. But I need to be intentional about like what do I need to actually accomplish today. Um, and then I'll go through my emails and then I really just work on my to-do list for the day. And I try and have hard cutoffs. So like I live by alarms also because I could
Mm,
very easily just work through lunch, even, because I just lose track of time. I'm just not really looking at the clock that much. So I just live by
yeah.
alarms. So I have an alarm every single day that goes off at noon for lunch. And I know, okay, this is like when I need to stop. And then I have just kind of alarms throughout the day of like check-ins. I make sure that I stand. I have like one of those desks that raise, and I work from home, so um, I'll do that throughout the day, and I have alarms that remind me it's time to stand. So really, it's like I try and take as much mental load off as I possibly can, because I feel like I overexert myself if I'm constantly like, okay, I need to remember to do this, and then did I forget this? And so I've kind of just eliminated that by the to-do list and the alarms throughout the day. And then I try and wrap up around 5, 6 every night. We eat dinner around the same time, go to bed. So I'm pretty routined, except for the weekend. Then I let myself just kind of be. But during the week, I try and keep that schedule so that I actually have time at the end of the day to turn my brain off, to just be present. So I'd say that's kind of like a typical-ish day. And then every Tuesday I do trivia. And so I have like my things like during the week that are my like non-negotiables that are planned into my schedule. So it's like Tuesday trivia. We will always do Tuesday trivia. And so having things
Yeah.
too that are outside of the home, especially when you work from home, to be able to like go out and do things and be around people.
That's so fun. So you're going somewhere. You're going somewhere for trivia.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I
Every
love
Tuesday.
that. That is so fun. That is so fun. I just changed my teaching schedule to Thursday nights so I could do Wednesday run club. So that's going to be my
That's
new like thing to
awesome.
look forward to halfway through the week. So I love that. And I love the alarm idea. I need to start implementing that, especially the standing up, the stand up
Yes.
desk or going for a walk or what I've been trying to put the walks in my calendar too, so like no one can sneak into those spots.
It's smart. It like holds yourself accountable.
Yeah.
And I like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's amazing. So I want to steal what you do at the end of your podcast. So let's say you're sitting across from 2017 Mikaela. What are you going to tell her? What are you going to tell her about, advice, but also what are you going to tell her about who you are today?
Mm. Oh, so many things come to mind. I think, um, I think that it would say like, you are enough. I think
Mm,
that she really needed to hear that. I think trying to figure out just what the future looked like and doing all these future projecting without really having the confidence in myself. I think I didn't know if I was smart enough. I didn't know if I knew enough. I didn't know if my voice was really going to be respected in this field, and all of these things that I think were very scary and felt very big at the time because I didn't know any better. I didn't have any kind of exposure. I filled all of the unknowns with a lot of fear. And so I think if I had just heard like, you are enough and you will be enough and you will continue to be enough, would have meant a lot to her. And then also just like your voice matters, because I think so often like we write I wrote myself off. I didn't know if what I had to say really would change anything or if it really would be heard. And I didn't want to go through the mental, gymnastics of like, okay, should I say something? Should I not say something? And then say something and then be like, oh, I really wish I hadn't said something. But my voice matters and I'm in a space where it's valued. And I think if I had really realized that earlier, I would have started to build confidence in myself and my voice. But I love who I am today. Like I do think that like I can appreciate the work that I have done to get here and to see myself in this light. And um I love what my journey has been. And also I think it allows me to show up for others because I know what those feelings are like.
Yeah. Oh, so that's fantastic. And you are enough. We're all enough. We are all inherently enough. One more question before we wrap it up, because this show is all about building wealth and finding success in a way that feels good to each of us. What does it mean to you to be legal and wealthy?
Mm. Having a life I'm proud of, having a life that like I feel lucky to live every day. Um, not really like honing in on struggles and knowing that there's like another side of it. And I think that that is what it means to just be like wealthy in life to me, is living a comfortable life, where I am happy and I feel fulfilled. And I know that like I am a work in progress and I will continue to progress every single day and be better than I was the day before. And what a gift that I get to do that. So I think just prioritizing happiness, and the happiness of those around me and doing what I can to just continue to help people and feel good about the work that I'm doing.
Oh my gosh. Well, Mikaela, this conversation that we had today is exactly why I started this show, truly. I mean, what you are doing for the legal community, for women, giving them platforms and voices and showing all of us, what is possible. I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful that you're here. Everyone, legal besties, all go check out Ladies in Law, the podcast. We'll have all of the information in the show notes. You can follow Mikaela. And I just want to say thank you again for being here and for sharing your incredible energy and your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. I appreciate you and the space that you create.
Oh my gosh. Likewise, likewise. And I hope everyone enjoyed this episode and tune in for the next episode of Legal and Wealthy. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Legal and Wealthy. If today's episode sparked something in you, take it one step further. Share it, leave a review, or come connect with me inside the Legal and Wealthy community. Remember, wealth isn't just about the numbers. It's about how you lead, how you live, and how you build beyond the billable. You already have what it takes to create real freedom and wealth. I'm just here to help you claim it.